Court grants unconstitutional. They put it in apostrophe. What was it called? The court grants quotation. Court grants unconstitutional Rivers administrator time to respond in suits challenging Fubara suspension. No be small thing. Unconstitutional. The Federal High Court, sitting in Port Harcourt, has adjourned to May 26, 2025 the constitutional suit filed by Dr. Farah Dagogo, a former federal lawmaker and the 2023 Rivers State governorship aspirant, challenging the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Deputy Governor Professor Ngozi Odo, and all members of the Rivers State House of Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On March 18, 2025, President Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, citing security concerns. There is no security concerns in Rivers State. The places where there are security concerns, you did not go and do anything about it. Security concerns. He further announced the suspension of the state's democratically elected leadership and appointed Vice Admiral Ibok Ete-Ibas retired as the administrator of Rivers State. In response, Mr. Dagogo filed suit number FAC/PH/CS/50/2025 on April 9, 2025, arguing that the president's actions were ultra-vires and lacked constitutional backing. At the hearing on Monday, counsel to the plaintiff, Cosmas Enweluzo San, informed the court that all defendants had been duly served and expressed readiness to proceed with the matter. Defendants in the suit include President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senate President Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete-Ibas retired, Rivers State Administrator. Of all the named defendants, only the fifth defendant, Vice Admiral Ibas, appeared through his counsel, Kehinde Ogunwumijo San, who requested additional time to respond to the originating summons. After hearing from both counsels, Justice Adamu Suraki Mohammed granted the request, but cautioned that the matter would proceed on the next adjourned date regardless of any further delays. Speaking to journalists after the court session, Enweluzo reiterated that President Tinubu acted outside the scope of his constitutional powers. The case challenges the president's unilateral appointment of an administrator for Rivers State and the suspension of duly elected officials, including the governor, deputy governor, and members of the House of Assembly. I want to see if this lawyer, being a judge, will be able to change the decree of the president. Since they said they are going to continue regardless of any further delays, that means that if the representative of the president and the senators, they do not come, they are going to proceed with the case. So let us see what is going to happen. Speaking to journalists after the court, he reiterated that President Tinubu acted outside the scope of his constitutional power. The case challenges the president's unilateral appointment of an administrator for Rivers State and the suspension of duly elected officials, including the governor, deputy governor, and members of the House of Assembly. The president cannot act as a teen god. He does not have the constitutional authority to suspend elected representatives or govern over 4 million Rivers people and those doing business in the state by fiat. It is a constitutional aberration and must not be allowed. He also questioned the justification for the declaration of a state of emergency. The insecurity narrative is unfounded. In Benue, in Plateau, in Borno State, serious security challenges persist. People are being killed, and some local governments remain under Boko Haram control, yet no state of emergency was declared there. Rivers State has remained relatively peaceful. Enweluzo commended Mr. Dagogo for initiating the legal action in defense of constitutional governance. We are grateful for principled leaders like Dr. Farah Dagogo, who are willing to defend the Nigerian constitution. Citizens have a right to be governed by officials they elected and to be represented by legislators from their constituencies in Degema, Boni, and elsewhere. Explaining the reason for the adjournment, Enweluzo stated, counsel for the fifth defendants informed the court that their staff were at the registry filing processes in response to our originating summons. They requested an adjournment to complete their filings. In fairness, and since it was their first request, we agreed. The court therefore adjourned to May 26, 2025. However, if delays persist beyond that date, the court is entitled to proceed with the case. He added that aside from the fifth defendant, none of the other parties had filed a memorandum of appearance, conditional appearance, or any legal response to the suit despite being duly served. Counsel to the fifth defendant, Kehinde Ogunmejo, San, declined to comment on the proceedings. Okay, let's see how it goes now. 26, no problem. Togo Electronics says Nigeria court is passive. Before Uncle, Harold Benstow says, okay, now this suit they shake that table now. We make we hear from the mouth of the alleged drunkard that even though they all came back to government, the threats to remove the governor will still go on. Make we first correct constitutional brouhaha first before we go now face the follow for Yansh boys. It is well. Julius Olusegun says seeking for cheap popularity. What popularity? Imagine a case that is before the Supreme Court, another going to High Court to argue the same. Madness of the century. It is a pity that so-called lawyers are the real cause of confusions by confusing the public with their selfish interpretation of court rulings. God shall judge them on earth and in heaven. And judge you too, Julius Olusegun. And judge you too. Matthew Obey says you have no reason to be there. Hence, it's never a military error. Who does not have a reason to be there? The Vice Admiral Abi? Yes, it doesn't. It doesn't have any reason to be there. It is well. Osaletin Alumuan says the sole administrator is a spoiler. He is. Onabuchi says this Akwa Ibom man just enter Wahala. Only few months. Look at his face like 6 months. You have bad mouth. Hey, it is well. Sylvester Akure says the judge and the son don't know what to do. The case is in Supreme Court already. This case is dead on arrival. Waste of time, money, and the time of court. Okay, it's already in Supreme Court, and we know. The Supreme Court that we know. Okay, now. It is well. Nnokam Prince says this same matter is already before the Supreme Court. Hence, this is an academic exercise. I think that is the one that the governors filed against them. Okay. It is well. Sam Omoje Uvu says court judges and lawyers in Nigeria have only made nonsense of themselves because of money from politicians and criminals. Did the Rivers administrator suspend Fubara as to respond to any suit challenging the governor's suspension? Well, it was the one that was made to replace him. So I think he should also be answering questions. It is well, I don't know. Christian Wakocha says you are not to blame. It is the house rat that sent an invitation to outside rat that there is something at home. Abi now. Abi, it is the outside rat. Abi, the inside rat. So is the inside rat. Mr. Wick. It's even supposed to be there. They are supposed to sue him too. To file a suit against him too, because he is your dada that caused all of this thing. He is the cause of everything. That man. Problem. Emeka Polycarp says, now for this man, that office is not for you. You are not Democrats. A politician, neither are you an elected person. I beg, leave the seat. Abi, leave. And this is over to leave your thoughts. Don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. See you some other time. Bye.